Okay, what's going wrong with rugby union in Australia? It predates Ryling Castle and her resignation in the last 3 years. The issues with rugby union in Australia are deep rooted and have been there a long time. Um, Grassroots, youth level, and losing players to rugby league and Aussie rules. Cooper Cronk is an example. I've discussed that to death in live streams and other videos on this channel. Cooper Cronk switched codes at the age of 18. Rugby league pay him more. There's your first problem. When you turn pro at 18, 19, 20, 21, the money in rugby league and Aussie rules at reserve grade is better than the domestic competition in Australia, the domestic national competition. The money's better in league and Aussie rules as a starting wage, and you're more likely to be spotted and scouted by NRL and AFL teams and end up playing first grade. It's more likely to happen. You're more likely to have a career where you can earn some decent money in league or Aussie rules in Australia. It's a known fact. They're more popular. They've got more fans, more registered clubs, more grassroots amateur clubs, more people playing, more people watching, better TV deals, more money. That's something that is a well-known fact. Even though the NRL is facing some financial issues right now with this lockdown, they do have more fans, they do have more registered clubs, more registered players, and a better TV deal. That's worth billions. Aussie rules, again, better TV deal, again, worth billions. More registered clubs, more registered players. It can be classed as a national competition. 18 top flight first grade professional clubs in the AFL, 16 in the NRL, even though one of them is actually from New Zealand. So 15 Australian clubs in the NRL, 18 in the AFL. More chance for players to play at first grade because there's more clubs, and it's a higher quality. Whereas if you look at the national competition of rugby union in Australia, poor attendances, poor TV deal, no money, and not really great quality. The Shute Shield is not great quality. And also retaining players in Australia playing at Super Rugby level or even at national level. A lot of players are going to Europe and North America to ply their trade. They end up getting residency and then switching allegiance to Canada, USA, one of the Six Nations, maybe some of the other European nations as well, and they switch allegiance. That is, if you look at the Major League Rugby, for example, look how many Australian-born players have now switched allegiance, and look how many players who've come over from Australia in the last couple of years who felt overlooked by the Wallabies or haven't been given a chance in Super Rugby because Western Force is now gone and Melbourne Rebels are struggling to survive. They can get a better payday in Europe and North America. Even by Tier 1 nation standards, Super Rugby doesn't pay as highly as Europe, like the top 14 in France, where they have the highest wages in Rugby Union, or the English Premiership, which is the second highest paying league. And Major League Rugby is got some big corporate backing and got some decent TV deals already with CBC or CBS have already got a TV deal. So that just tells you something that already a new league, it's a couple of years old, has got TV deal in place and corporate money. Then you look at how much they paid to get Radradra, Corabetti, Folau, and other NRL rugby league players to switch codes to Union. They paid a lot of money. Rather than investing in the grassroots and the Shute Shields and trying to improve the quality there and retaining youth players, or keeping Western Force in Super Rugby, which has actually reduced the amount of available talent pool that you can select from for the Wallabies, they decided to a win-now mentality, and they recruited the Mercenary League players, as I call them. Great players in the NRL. Really love watching them play. Superstar players, wowed crowds, put bums on seats, and they were offered big paydays to switch codes and come over to Rugby Union. It didn't work because in 2015, World Cup finalists, 2019, quarter-finalists had a shockingly poor World Cup. Really poor by Tier 1 nation standards. They never looked settled, they never played well, and these league players didn't necessarily have the best tournament. And Israel Folau didn't play in the tournament because he was sacked by Rugby Australia and then took him to court and then settled out of court for an undisclosed fee, which was in the 8 million Australian dollar range. He made a lot of money by settling out of court. He took them to court over unfair dismissal. And when a party settles out, agrees to settle out of court against the claimant, it's generally a sign that they were going to lose and have to pay more money. So they got off lightly, I think, by settling out of court, but it is a sign that they were going to lose the case on unfair dismissal. which is not good. Then you have to look at how they dealt with Michael Chaker. That's some more negative publicity. Plus, even before Ryan Castle came along, a lot of players, like Curtly Beale, was regularly in the headlines, and allegations against players for drug use, excessive alcohol use, misbehaviour, sexism claims, bullying claims, racism claims, assault claims. These are claims. Now, Curtly Beale was in the headlines a lot as a player who regularly misbehaved, and then you've got Quade Cooper. Another player who was a bit of hit and miss and a bit controversial. And again, when people are looking at a sport for the wrong reasons, because of negativity, that does affect the public image of a sport, and fans may switch off. Too much controversy, too much negativity, fans can switch off. Now, attendances are down on what they used to be, but that's a Super Rugby-wide problem, and that's where New Zealand, South Africa, Argentina all have to come together with Australia and work out why that is. But the TV deal they were offered was lower. So Fox have noticed less people are watching and buying and paying for the rugby union subscription or watching their rugby union coverage, and less fans are in attendance, and that sucks. That looks really bad for live TV. It sucks. You pick it up on TV cameras, empty seats, especially full high definition of 4K. It doesn't look great. When they're now showing reruns of classic matches from 10, 15, 25 years ago, you can definitely see a massive drop. In crowd numbers. It's a thing that is a well-known thing. Crowds have been down and are declining. So what do you do to fix this? Well, lots of issues really. Grassroots development, there are some green shoots there with the under-20s beating the under-20 All Blacks with the Wallabies. They've got some good young players coming through. It's retaining that talent in Australia. That is the key. How you do that? Do you reintroduce? Do you bring back Western Force into Super Rugby? It's a possibility. Is it going to happen? Probably not. What happens with the Melbourne Rebels? Because they are constantly facing financial struggles on a yearly basis. They don't make a lot of money, if at all. And Rugby Australia is pumping funds in to prop the team up in a Aussie rules heartland of Melbourne. The state of Victoria is Aussie rules country. It struggles to support the NRL and Rugby League with the Melbourne Storm, one of the most successful teams in the NRL's history. So if they're not supporting a successful team, what do you think they're going to do with a struggling team like the Melbourne Rebels that haven't really had success? And so Rugby Australia are propping up the Rebels at the moment. So they've got to look at the financial structures in place. They've got to look at the salaries they're paying. The top end talent. And the Israel Folau saga. They have to ask the question: are they overpaying some players and underpaying others? If the top end talent took a slight pay cut, would that mean more players would be retained in Australia rather than playing in Europe and North America at their club level? Because Europe and North America can pay more across the board as an average salary. So salaries and restructuring salaries is a concern. But then you have to look at the fact that 10 ex-captains who have links to Fox, so the media have a part to play in this, basically ousted Riley Castle by signing that open letter saying we've lost faith. A lot of them have links to the Murdoch media empire with Fox, and that raises questions over the integrity of Rugby Australia and the links with the media outside of the TV deal and the transparency of the organisation. But when they decided to pay Israel Folau the amount of money they did, and the other rugby league players like Cora Betty and Rad Radra, it does raise questions about could that money have been better spent developing grassroots play, developing the grassroots game, so club support for regional clubs and amateur clubs with funding facilities, because clearly facilities is an issue as well. And then you could argue, well, could that money have been better spent raising the average salary for a Super Rugby player, therefore retaining the talent in Australia? So whoever comes in to replace Ryan Castle has got a real tough job. If it wasn't for the Lions tour in 2013, and if Rugby Australia was actually a private sector company, it would have been filed for bankruptcy years ago. And when you're losing players like Cooper Cronk from youth level to rugby league, that is a sign that all is not well. Because can you imagine Cooper Cronk playing at fly half or scrum half for the Wallabies in the last 15 years? How different that Wallabies side would have been. It's hindsight, but yeah, Cooper Cronk used to be a union player till the age of 18, and he switched codes. and part of that is to do with salaries and grassroots investment, grassroots infrastructure, be it for the senior game for adults and for youth. And you have to look at, okay, they put a team in Melbourne, that's Aussie rules country. What about Adelaide? They've overlooked Adelaide. Now Adelaide is a city in South Australia, is a state with the highest unemployment in Australia. But again, they could have put a team there, and instead of Melbourne, it's an option. They decided not to. But when you're propping up one of your four remaining teams and you basically axe one of the teams from Super Rugby and one of the other teams makes no money, that says there are issues there. Yes, you've got the Brumbies and the Waratahs and the Queensland Reds, and they're three reasonably successful teams in Super Rugby history. But even they are having crowd attendance issues. They're not drawing as well, and over time, if you're having less fans coming in to buy tickets, you make less revenue. So they've got to try and get fans back in the stadiums. They've got to get fans watching on TV because they need a better TV deal, and they need to have positivity. And the way you do that, you have to improve the quality of play. And the Australian teams are nowhere near as good as the Kiwi teams or the South African teams when it comes to Super Rugby. But if you're losing the grassroots talent and you're losing the player base to Europe, it means you're going to have worse talent on the field. And if you're not developing that youth talent to come through the ranks, and you're relying on mercenary talent from the NRL, and you're paying them these big contracts, that money could be better spent. So where the money goes, player retention, structures in place, TV deal, but you've got to get the fans back interested. You've got to get fans interested. Unfortunately, the product's just not good enough because they're not investing in grassroots, clearly. If they were investing in grassroots, they wouldn't have to rely on paying rugby league players to switch codes. It's very short-sighted win now mentality. Part of the problem. But there we go. What can Australian rugby do to fix its problems? Who do you think can come in and replace Ryling Castle? Should they get ex-players involved in the running of the game? That's a question that you could ask. And how do they fix the money problem? Because Rugby Australia is in deep, deep financial trouble. And how they're going to fix that. But I'm going to leave that there. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts below, and I'll have some more videos for you very, very soon.